Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series, Castlevania Chronicles, where I review every single mainline Castlevania game ever released in a retrospective fashion. And today we have the 10th Castlevania game ever made, Castlevania Rondo of Blood. And when I say this is a 10 out of 10 perfect game, what I really mean it's an 11 out of 10 iconic game. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, hit like, subscribe, all that jazz, but let's just get talking about the video. I love this game, and I'm not the only person that has this perspective. It is probably the best 2D non-Metroidvania Castlevania game ever made. I'm showing you that little left exit there because that's going to become very important in the future. But what this really feels like is the bridge between the old 16-bit style 2D games and what we would get with Symphony of the Night, because Symphony of the Night borrows so much from this game, music, sprite works, as well as the ending of the game is the beginning of Soten. That's how much these two games are tied together. This is the precursor of what Castlevania would become, but it's also a swan song to the old 16-bit style of Castlevania games everybody was playing up until that point in time. And I do love all the boss battles in this game. They are iconic and the art is absolutely spectacular in them. Obviously, this is now available pretty much any way you want to play it, but back in the day when I bought my import copy for the PC Engine, that was the only way you could play this game. I imported it and I've owned it ever since. I bought a PC Engine Duo R just to be able to play this one Castlevania game. That's how much I wanted to play it. And all of those early internet reviews on the import scene said you had to pick up a copy. Sadly, it's gotten much more expensive for an original, but if you own a PC Engine, it might be something you do want in your collection. But it's so similar to all of the Castlevania games that came before it, but so different in the same respect. Obviously, we get the same, NES, Castlevania 1 style walk through Dracula's castle with all those tapestries and curtains on the wall. But what this game does is take that formula and run with it, because you'll see here we pick up a key. Now, I'm not going to show you what those keys go to. In some strange reason you've never played the game before, this is a 100% complete save file, but that key does something different after you've used it the first time. There are so many different branching pathways in this game, so many different levels, and so many different ways to take on the challenge. You really have to play this game like 4 times from start to finish to see absolutely everything, which is very similar to Symphony of the Night. You can 100% see how you get from this game to that game, but I love the boss battles in this game as well. This skeleton, almost minotaur for lack of a better term, it's like half horse, half skeleton man, is an absolutely incredible design, and I love how you have different methods to fight the boss as well as different stages. But let's move over from Richter to Maria, because even though if she's the easy mode to play the game, I've always loved playing as her with all her animal companions and power-ups versus the standard holy water, dagger, and cross you get with Richter. The enemy designs are just so good in this game. It is so much fun, and I love that they're not just single cycle affairs. There's multiple things going on with pretty much each and every individual boss. And these are only some of my minor favorites. Some of my bigger favorites are coming up soon. But we're on the standard path right now, but there are multiple paths and multiple levels through the game, and we will talk about those shortly. But first, you have to hear the Red Book audio on Rondo, because I think this is, outside of Soten, the best music they've ever made. But enjoy! I mean, don't get me wrong, the chip tunes from the 16-bit and 8-bit era that wasn't on CD are excellent, but having the Red Book audio with the 16-bit look is just the best of both worlds. And when I mean this game looks beautiful, I mean it. All that stained glass work in the background, all those different vignettes and scenes, it's just so much detail. These church chairs, this cross here in the fountain, It is just so incredible to look at. Every single square inch of the screen when you're playing Rondo of Blood is saturated with different details. They went the extra mile to make this game look absolutely beautiful, and in some ways I think it looks as good as Symphony of the Night, even though it's 16 bits less. Not that that's ever mattered. But it does have flea men. You have to have flea men. They're gonna kill me. Oh, I hate flea men. But when I mentioned earlier the branching pathways, and I showed you that little ectoplasm up there, the game's constantly tricking you. You would think this is just a small area, and you'd think if you drop down you would die. But you don't. You go somewhere completely different, and you're going to see some of the sprite work from Soten appearing in Rondo of Blood before you ever got to play that game. But even there's a statue that points right, and if you continue to travel right, you get an entirely different boss battle, and you can see Castle Dracula in the background. And this is just off the first stage. These branching pathways get multiple and complex. Finding some of them on your first, second, or even third playthrough if you don't have a guide is going to be very difficult. But I love this serpent as well, and how the sprites go over the bridge. This wasn't something that you would see in the 8-bit era, and it is here, and it is incredible. Now, each boss does have a desperation attack, but they don't actually kill you even if you're out of life. It's a really strange mechanic. It happens, but it doesn't really do anything. I've never been quite sure of that. But moving on to stage 2, this game has double the stages you would think it would have, and it is so much better for that. I love the non-linearity to it, but compared to something like Castlevania 3, I love that you're never quite sure what path you're actually going on. In that game, you select your paths, as you saw in a previous video, but in this game, you kind of just find them. Because right here, without Maria and her double jump, you can't go forward. So you couldn't even see this on the Richter playthrough unless you went back and went through the first area and second area with Maria. That's how much fun it is. It gives you a reason to play as both characters. And from a design perspective, it is absolutely a genius move. It makes you keep thinking the game has something to offer, and sometimes you may have just seen everything, but you're not quite sure if it wasn't for that percentage completion. But again, these are just iconic Castlevania levels, and as this skull is going to soon drop down from the sky after he gets over that bridge, this is just so beautiful to look at. It was remade for the PlayStation Portable, and maybe I'll do a video on that. I have not decided yet, but one good dragon swipe and he's down for the count. But again, there's so much good music in this game, you gotta listen to a little bit more, and I'll come back and continue to talk about the lineage to Symphony of the Night. But enjoy again. I mean, that's the type of music you don't even need to play the game to enjoy. You could just listen to it in your headphones and you're traveling around. But right here again, this game just loves to hide these secret paths. I missed this on probably like my even 5th playthrough when I originally played the game. But you need to break that ball and have it pop down so you can see my favorite boss in the entire game, Together, which is definitely just a beholder from Dungeons and Dragons. Changed a little bit. It's just one giant eyeball with this wrinkly skin. Kind of looks a little bit like a testicle, not gonna lie, but I just love all the frames of animation, and even his death animation here when he comes around and puts those magic symbols in. But you'll see I'm just taking intentional hits here so I can get that life bar down to nothing, so I can talk about the fact that, like I said, there's desperation attacks, but they just do not kill you. And there's some frogs from Symphony as well. A lot of the sprites that were in that game came whole cloth from Rondo. Of course, they made a lot of new ones for it as well, but that's how good this game looked. When they wanted to go to the 32-bit era on PlayStation 1, they didn't need to remake everything. They could just borrow the artwork from Rondo, and it looks perfect on the PlayStation 1. It is just so much fun to see that in motion. This is a special game, and that's why this episode is longer than the rest. And again, you can go straight or you can drop down on that little piece of wood there. Your choice. I love the freedom that Rondo of Blood gives you. You constantly have a decision as to what path you want to take forward. Half the time you're not even sure if that path forward may kill you or may bring you to a different level. And when I first played through this game, trying to find all those pathways, I died a lot just thinking where they might be. You even get the ferryman in this game in an area that looks almost identical to the area in Symphony of the Night. What you're going to see here really quickly, it's not just Richter that can use the keys, Maria gets them as well. But again, the game is going to troll you because there's a candle, there's a key, you hit it too soon and it falls right into the water. You're going to have to replay this game multiple times just to learn what's going on or take a death, because if you don't have that key right there, you got to go back the way you came. It's not a good situation. But again, the sprite work, the background, this is all just simple pieces and their whole is such an amazing sum. I love that there's two different bosses going on here, the semi-transparent hair and body, and then as you get closer, she changes outfits completely, and when you kill her, it's one of my favorite moments in the game. She is just going to have an arterial spray of the hearts that she stole from you. It's blood in heart form. It's a small artistic touch, but it makes all the difference. But I keep talking about how good the soundtrack is, and I never let you guys listen to 3 separate bits of soundtrack in one video, but for Rondo of Blood I 100% have to do that. But I just love this background here, the dungeons in Castle Dracula with those skeletons behind the bars, but this next piece of music is my favorite. It's just iconic, and every time I hear that music, I am so happy for it. But I even love the parallax in the background as that pirate ship dropped back into the distance. But this level has something very particular that I've always been curious about, so much so that I did an episode a few years back about it. But there's a mystery in Rondo of Blood that's never been quote-unquote solved or ever had an explanation as to what exactly is going on. I'm not showing you how to solve this puzzle here, I'm just showing you the end of it, so when you get to your first playthrough, you'll be confused and screw it up like I did. But if you move that bar there, you can come down here to the ship's engine, and you're going to have to hammer away at it for a very long time. But you will get a 1-up before your trouble, so it's not that unworth it. And only with Maria you can slide through here because she has a slide move, and you're going to get to a separate area in this ship towards the back, and what you're going to find is there's going to be this odd glowing door, or is it a picture frame? I can't even tell. Something seems like it was supposed to be here, but it's just not here anymore. You leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think it is. And of course, it's not going to be a Castlevania game without the Dark Priest Shaft, one of his earliest appearances. Going to be big moving forward though in this series. And he's going to bring back the classic NES era bosses. You're going to get the Bat, you're going to get the Mummies, and you're going to get Frankenstein. And I love this small callback to those games in the series, because at this point in time, this was the 10th game. Konami had already made a ton of them, and I will say in some instances the boss battles are just easier with Maria because that double jump's going to get you right over the top. But I wasn't playing well today, and Frankenstein was actually able to get me, something that rarely if ever happens. But of course, the big bad Dracula. If you've never played Symphony of the Night, you wouldn't know this, but I'm sure most of you have. The ending of Rondo is the beginning of Symphony of the Night, and I love how they tie those two franchises together in that manner. Richter is just starting his journey through the game, and then Alucard has to take over. But I love how the games just seamlessly blend together, and if you ever want to spend a lot of time playing games, play Rondo and go right to Symphony. But honestly, I love this Dracula battle, but I will say, especially with Maria, but even with Richter, it is one of the easiest Dracula battles in the entire Castlevania franchise. But I don't mind that so much because some games are so maddeningly hard when they give you the Dracula fight that you really just want to pull your hair out. Now, this game was quote-unquote remade for the Super Nintendo, and we will be talking about that game as well, because while it isn't anywhere near as good as Rondo, there are a lot of good qualities that people seem to overlook, myself included, even a few years back when I talked about it. But Dracula is dead, Maria has won the day, and I've taken all this time before I showed it to you, but this game also has anime-style FMV cutscenes. It might not be my favorite graphical style, but it does work really well for the game, and you're going to see Dracula here still has a little bit of something up his sleeve, at least on this playthrough, because he is going to escape. We always know that Dracula never truly dies, he just waits about 100 years and comes back in some form or another, and in this instance he's going to ghost right out of those windows and escape Castle Dracula to bother us another day. But that's always fine with me. I love Castlevania games, and I do not know why there hasn't been a new one, because once we get to the end of the 3D era, I'm just not going to have anything else to talk about. But you even get a special ending with Maria. So yeah, that's Castlevania Rondo of Blood, my review for it for the Castlevania Chronicles retrospective. It is a perfect game, one of the best games ever made. Leave me a comment down below, but I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.